Well, the year has definitely kicked off in a big way
Maybe.
for us, and we're very thankful for that. So you were
Yeah.
saying, Taylor, we were just thinking we'd ease into the first week back.
Boy, were we wrong. I was thinking I'd come back, ease in, catch up, set a few meetings. I have not even had 5 seconds to look at my calendar to even
Everything we
sort that
planned.
out. But
Yes.
very grateful, very excited um, to what this year's going to bring.
Mm,
And we've got lots of plans in place, and especially for the podcast too.
yes.
Um, we're going to be doing like monthly segments and themes, which is really exciting. So we nutted them out last year, and yeah, clients.
Yes.
This one's for you. They're all for
Yes.
you. And yeah, just everything to do with recruitment, setting up for success. Um, yeah, it's gonna be a good year.
Mm. Yeah, and we maybe part of the setting up for success, I think our title for this week or for this month that we gave was just really the strategies to be successful and setting those goals. And it really came from our side when we sat down towards the end of last year, just booked a day
Yeah,
and brainstormed and dreamed and like what could this look like, and then scale it back as like, okay, let's put the building blocks in place so that we can get to where we want to go, and make it tangible,
yeah.
and literally took out a calendar and put in the big dates,
Hmm.
business big dates, but also personal big dates when people will be away.
Yeah,
Taylor's going to Fiji, like big things,
yeah,
and then just worked our way around that. So we started back this year with a plan,
yeah.
and I think maybe not necessarily just a plan, but direction,
Hmm.
which is great because you
Yeah,
always think, oh, I want to be more focused, I want to be more this, I want to be more that, and then you have to go become more focused. So it's actually that next step of actually doing that,
yeah.
which is
And
what we
we're
done last year.
yeah, and we're able to see like the bigger picture as well,
Picture.
and what
Yeah.
our year looks like collectively, both
Mm,
with personal time off or um, business time off or whatever we need to. So then we can start to set those goals and
mm,
expectations of, especially like within recruitment. Like, I think one of our goals this year, if it is possible to, like, we want to expand, we want to be able to employ somebody. So having the bigger picture of where we're at and who's going to be off and where people are going to be at the time will really help us determine when is a good time for us to recruit,
mm.
keeping in mind like how long it's going to take, the training period, like making sure that the people who are going to be needed to help with that recruitment are actually going to be here as well.
Correct.
So
Yes.
I guess that's like, yeah, this month, like how to set up a successful year for your recruitment and what are the things that you may need to think about that you don't really necessarily think that you need to think about or know. And again, like it doesn't, like each individual business is completely different.
Different. Correct.
So it wouldn't probably work for everybody. But if you just keep it in the back of your mind as well, you might be able to utilize it or just think a little bit differently about your recruitment instead of just being on the fly, be quite intentional about it as
Yeah,
well.
I think that's the word, is being intentional about it. Um, Last year we had quite a few roles that um, the client sort of knew what they wanted, but the role kept evolving
Yeah.
and changing, which happens in recruitment, but it then ended up stopping
Yeah.
and being put on hold. I think the realization was, do we really need this role? What do we actually need? Um, and that took a few months to get to that point where I think the big questions should be asked in the beginning.
Yeah.
Do we really need this role? What does it look like? Where's the team? And of course, that changes
Yeah.
um, over time. But just asking the big questions, and like we don't mind being part of that process, because that's also part of consulting and helping and guiding a client in terms of, this is where the market's at, this is what we're finding. Although it is frustrating after you've put in time and time and time and money,
Yeah.
To then just get nothing out of it. So I think just for success, to be successful, is to ask those big questions
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I know it's difficult because sometimes it's the hiring manager saying, I want this, and you're the recruitment specialist internally. And it's sometimes difficult to challenge,
Yeah.
but I think it's worth it because it's also your time and their time that
100%.
goes into everything. And it's not just time, it's also then if you're interviewing candidates or we're talking to candidates about the organization and things don't move forward, that's also your brand that goes with that, which we take really serious because
Yeah.
we represent the organization's brand in the market.
Yeah.
So I think that word intentional, that's a very good word
Yeah.
to start the process with.
Yeah. And
Mm.
also, just to put more on the back of that too, making sure, again, like making sure that you're writing the right position description and finding the right person, but you also need to make sure that it aligns with your business strategy moving forward.
Mm.
There's no use trying to fill a role that you need right now, but in 6 months' time, it's not going to be good for the business because you don't need that person. And I guess that's where you can think about maybe putting on a contractor instead. So, again, thinking about contract versus
First
perm
perm.
and
Yeah.
what's going to be best for the business moving forward, and whether that is you just need to fill a quick gap straight away, or whether it's like, no, we can deal with who we have in the business at the moment and we'll wait a little bit to find that candidate that's going to be better for us in the next
In the longer
5 to 10
term.
years or
Yes.
2 years, 12 months, all of that. So I
Yeah.
think to making sure that it matches where the business is going and the overall business strategy.
Correct.
Um, I think that's also something to think about
Yes, which is
as
very
well.
relevant to where we are.
Yeah.
For us, this year was definitely a growth year, but
Mm.
it's not growth at all cost.
Yeah.
It's making sure that firstly the organization is setting the person coming in for success
Yeah.
and giving them a platform to work from, and making sure that the business is ready for that person, so that they can be successful. So we're talking about ourselves as well
Yeah.
in terms of that process. And I think that's where the thinking came from, is like, well, we're in the same boat.
Yeah.
We need to be intentional about our next move, our next business move as well,
Mm-hmm.
and what that looks like.
Yeah.
So it's planning and conversations, and things change, and it's just keeping people up to date with where the business is at. And we're a partner,
Mm.
and we realize things change, and
Yeah.
that's 100% fine. It's just knowing
Yeah.
where things are at.
100%. And keeping those communication is key.
Yes.
Like
So
open lines of communication is key on both parties as well. We always like to have open lines of communications with our clients, between us two, with candidates, everybody, but we also kind of expect the same thing back.
yes.
So again, just keeping lines of communication open, that's a key thing. I think too, another one to be quite open and transparent about is the expectations of candidates. And again, we're jumping back into that flexibility, the working from home, all of that. I actually spoke to a candidate yesterday, and she has been working remote over COVID, went back to hybrid. Her company that she's been with now, well, she started in COVID. So what would that be? 5 years? Almost 5 years? 4 or 5 years? They are now mandating 5 days in the office again. The thing with her is that the company is worldwide. So she's going back into the office 5 days a week to talk on a Teams meeting with someone who works overseas. So I think keeping on top of that, really knowing your market. Obviously, it doesn't work for everybody, but in a role like hers, she can definitely do it remote. She was happy to do hybrid, but again, so there's backlash coming from that. So I think really being able to set expectations for that is huge, and it's something that you need to think about with your recruitment as well. Yeah, that's just another thing.
Mm.
Like, I spoke to her yesterday, and she's like, "That's the reason why I'm looking to get it out." Like, I don't need to be in the office 5 days a week. My clients and everything, they're all overseas, or they're in Sydney, or they're in Melbourne, so there's no use. Um, so I think just trying to stay with, I wouldn't say like trends, but like where the current market is at and the expectations around that. But also like flexibility. Flexibility is huge now, and that is also another big thing that people are looking for. So, really setting the expectation, setting the strategy to see, can we offer flexible working hours, or a hybrid working situation. So I think really refining and reviewing what's working at the moment with your recruitment, and whether that is bringing in that little bit more of flexibility, or, chatting to the senior team members, seeing what they need, um what they need in terms of their team, instead of somebody up at this level being like, this is what we need for the business, but really we don't need somebody at this level, needs somebody completely different. So I think too, getting the whole sort of leadership team involved in the recruitment journey, I think is also important, because they have a different perspective, especially if they're on the ground running it as well. Another thing that you could also reviewing what worked last year and what didn't work with recruitment, because it's not really that simple sometimes. So I think if you maybe look at a strategy audit, or audit what worked well with your recruitment, what didn't work well, how are you going to implement sort of a new strategy, or try something different. Also, timelines as well. If you want to, say if you want to have like a graduate or something like that, you really need to put things in place to be able to recruit those people later on in the year, when, graduates are graduating, things like that. So look at your timelines, and if there is anything specific, or any specific seasons that you need to look forward to, or if you're in an accounting role, like tax season, do you want to start recruiting now to get those people up to speed with the company, the policies, procedures, and everything like that by May, June? When does that
Yeah.
start? April, May, June.
Yep.
Or do you want to look at getting an experienced contractor in just for
That
three
busy
or
period.
4 months? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think too, January is a good month to start popping things in your calendar. Also, keeping in mind that recruitment can take a while, like,
Yep.
depending on the industry, like 4, 6, 8 weeks, depending. I know the accounting market on the Sunshine Coast at the moment is tight.
Yep.
It's a hard one, and that's probably going to take longer than trying to find an admin person or a business analyst or things like that. So really
Mm.
keeping in mind that, yeah, again, being intentional, making sure the timelines match,
Yep.
work towards your goal, kind of be proactive instead of reactive
Yes.
as well.
I think that the one thing that is always important for us is time.
Yeah.
And the old saying of time kills all deals, it's just really, really true. Obviously, from our side, the longer the recruitment process takes, the more risk there is in losing the candidate that you want for the role. So, and we play a part in that, in terms of keeping the candidate engaged, building the trust, open communication, letting them know sometimes it's out of your control
Yeah.
that things are taking longer, but it's communicating. But if a role can be released, it's intentional that we have this position, we know exactly what we're looking for, or we have a very, very good idea of what we're looking for. And we can work towards timelines the client said, and we have the buy-in. That has been always been the most successful way of recruiting.
Yeah.
And the experience is just a positive one for each party involved. If there's momentum, then we keep moving forward. Yeah, and we've spoken about this in the past, where we've had clients that it's like you're dancing. It's just beautiful. There's music playing, there's dancing, everybody's moving in the same direction. We know where we're going, and it's a positive outcome, a positive experience for the successful candidate, but also for the unsuccessful candidates, because
Yeah.
they were part of the process and were kept in. So that's really, as part of the intention, is also, once the ball starts rolling, keep it
Keep it
rolling,
rolling.
unless there's something really coming in from the side that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that time. I was in a meeting this morning, a podcast, and it's, again, we just spoke about time and timing of recruitment. Timing in terms of what Taylor said, make sure that you know when you want to start recruiting, if there's a specific reason. But also then, once the recruitment starts, keep it moving.
Be
Just
available. Yeah.
intentional about that process as well. And we're here to help. We're here to help, letting everybody know where the candidates are, what are they doing, if there's any other roles involved. I have to say, the market's busy. We started off with a bang on Monday,
I couldn't believe it.
not expecting that at all. And all the candidates we've spoken with have more than one opportunity
Yes.
that they're talking to clients about.
Yeah.
So,
I spoke with someone on Wednesday, and between Monday to, I think it was Wednesday morning, he's already had 5 conversations with different agencies, different clients, just
yep,
purely like there is people looking.
yep,
And like I said before, like there's some businesses that are, you know, restructuring coming into 2025 or changing expectations and things like that as well. So I am noticing people, there's a lot of people wanting some change this year as well.
mm,
So even people who have been with companies long term, I spoke with somebody the other day, he's been with his current company for 8 years. And he's like, it's time for a sea change.
yep,
So I really think this year there's going to be a lot of movement, people wanting change, but also people and this is where the conversation with the guy who had been with his company for 8 years, he's like, I want to be a little bit more selfish and take my time back. So they know what they want. They want
mm,
flexibility, they want either remote work or they want a good hybrid system because they want to have that time back. So I think too that's yeah, the candidates are coming in, they know exactly what they want and they're willing to wait. Like he's willing
yep,
to wait until he can find
for the right
the right
opportunity.
role that's
Yep,
going to suit him and his personal lifestyle
yep,
this year,
yep,
because the last 8 years he's just been working,
yep,
working, working, working. So
yep,
that's also something to think about as well, thinking about the
yep,
candidate and what they want and if the business is able to accommodate.
yeah.
I think if you're able to accommodate some, they're able to accommodate some, you know, there's a happy medium for
Finding a middle
everyone.
ground that suits everybody. And
Yeah.
I know that that's easier said than done
Oh,
within
100%.
some organizations, but and if it can, it can, and if it can't, it can't. Then
Yeah.
this is just the scenario that it is, and these are the reasons why. Yeah, I'm excited about this year. If this week is anything to go by, what 2025 is looking like,
Bring it on.
bring it on.
We did say this year's going to be a big year, and it's pretty much solidified itself this year as being a big year just in the last like 4 days.
Yes, and we're excited about that. If you have questions as a candidate, how to structure your resume, how do you approach this market, what do you focus on, reach out to us. Clients, like we've always said, it's a partnership. We're here to help. We're
Yep.
here to provide advice. And even if you're looking at recruiting maybe in 3 months' time, it's good to have conversations just so that we can keep our eyes on the market.
Yep.
So many referrals, so many of our old candidates, clients, current candidates referring people through to us. I've probably had 4 conversations already this week just
Yep.
with people that have been referred to me.
Yep.
So yeah, there's movement. It's positive. It's definitely more positive than it was this time last year.
100%.
Mm.
Completely different. Yep.
Yes. So we're excited about that.
Yes.
And bring on 2025.
I'm so excited. Like I knew that it was going to be good, but I'm just after this week, I'm like
Yes.
extra
Excited
excited.
about it.
Yeah. 100%. If you clients, candidates, all of that, you know where to find us on LinkedIn. We'll have everything in the show notes. But yeah, subscribe. This year's going to be really good with our podcast. Again, very intentional. Maybe that's our year. Maybe that's
Yes,
our word this year.
intentional.
Intentional.
Intentional and expansion.